Hello, Calaveras County, and welcome to another edition, the first edition of 2019 of Mondo, Calaveras. I'm your host, Mike Taylor, and I will say it to you, Happy New Year. And my guest this time around is going to help us figure out what kind of year we're going to have here in Calaveras County. It is newly re-elected District 3 Calaveras County Supervisor Merita Callaway. Merita, thanks for being here.
Thank you. I'm sure we're going to have several conversations over the next 4 years.
Yes, we probably will. I'm going to ask first, and we kind of touched on it when we did sort of the District 3 discussion, but why on God's green earth would somebody come back to the supervisor's position?
I really miss it. I enjoyed it. I'm challenged by it. And I don't feel we as a county have been moving in a positive direction. And even since the election, I've been reinforced that I made the right decision.
I think so too.
And interesting things have happened since then. Glad you asked the question. I'm just going to move right into it.
Sure, go for it.
About 3 weeks ago in the New York Times, there was an article about the economy in rural America. And I think we've been approaching the economy and economic development in a very traditional way. And this article just sort of set off a light bulb that we need to look at it differently.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what that looks like yet for Calaveras or the other rural counties in California, but I'm going to try and look at economic development in a different way than we have before. We're not going to build stores, big stores. They're on their way out. Sears just closed. And we have to support what we have now. We're fine saying, okay, let's bring more in. Well, let's look at what we have and what can we do to support and help them first. And then how is the economy changing throughout the state and the nation, and how does rural America fit into that?
Now, speaking of the economy, and this is something that I've talked about in my other life here in the county, and that's the finances with county government, because we came through the budget cycle last year, and everything sounded okay, and then it seemed like about a week after or something like that, and my timing may be off, but the CAO came out and said, whoa, wait a second, all the departments need to cut 5%, the bottom fell out kind of thing, and it wasn't quite that dire. But then what we were also looking at is we had $10 million that had been in the coffers because of cannabis taxes that were collected from the previous year, and those were going to be gone. So the future was looking pretty bleak. And in our District 3 debate with Mr. Oliveira, both of you said, no, the finances aren't that bad. Can you kind of explain that and how we sort of got the sky is falling message and then it calmed back down again?
Well, the sky's falling because it's always falling.
Yeah,
it's
either
either okay and it's in California. But the scenario that was going out was that we were going into bankruptcy, that without the cannabis money we're going to bankruptcy. Well, Calaveras has been through some very stringent, you've followed the county for years, economic times, and we've survived. We've made it happen. Has it been painful? Absolutely yes. And now we're sort of have crawled out of that, and we're not necessarily growing, but we're not really falling back to where we were in 2008. So I've been meeting with departments, and of course their job's to lobby me for more money.
Sure.
I know that. I went to one department, and I said, oh, you've got new desks. They said, yeah, but look at the others were held together with Scotch tape, and we finally got them, but we're still in need of whatever. And it's no different in Indiana. I still have other departments. And I expect that. And in talking with the chief administrative officer, I was concerned about legislative issues. I think we have to keep on top of them. What's the Senate bill?
Definitely.
What's this Assembly bill? How's it impacting us? He said, Merita, the departments are barely keeping up with day to day. And so now we're wanting something else from them. And
Yeah.
he's the interim, our interim
Okay.
CAO. And he's quite experienced. He had been the Chief Administrative Officer in San Joaquin County, has an excellent reputation in the state.
Sure.
So I really listened to what he said. So what's going to happen as we move forward, moving into budget time? I don't know.
Yeah.
But do I think county staff is doing what they can to keep the county moving and answering calls? And yes.
Yeah.
But are we doing anything extra or more? I gather we're not.
Not right now. Yeah.
And
Okay.
so I'm looking to work with the board on how do we cultivate more revenue. And it can't be the same traditional ways we've looked at doing it.
Yeah.
An example, I'm glad you asked the question. An example was tech. You know, we get a lot of high-speed internet here. We're going to bring all these tech companies. Well, it seemed obvious in reading about the tech industry. The tech industry wants to be around the tech industry. They don't want to be in an ag county.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Don't spend too much energy courting somebody that's not really interested in coming here.
exactly.
And I've heard that argument to throw out one of those big box stores, Trader Joe's. Everybody thinks, oh, a Trader Joe's up here would be great. Well, we all think so, maybe. But when you
Trader
talk
Joe's
to the company wants 1 million people living within X number of
Correct.
feet of that store. And we just don't have that density up
Correct.
here, thank goodness. So
Let's look at economic development in a different way.
And like you say, supporting those businesses that are already here that might not have that exact same brand that you saw at Trader XYZ, but you can
That's
still
right.
get up here locally. Speaking of the CAO, the Chief Administrative Officer, this county seems to have a tough time holding on to one. Is
Yes.
that, and you've been in this position now twice, and I'm going to preface this by saying, as a person who lives in the county and watches how the Board of Supervisors does its thing,
What does that mean? Does it say?
well, where I'm
Work.
going, the work that it does,
Sure.
watching it, the immediate past board was an acrimonious group, it seemed to me. And from any casual observer, it was like those guys just can't get together on anything. Not that there were split votes and that kind of thing, but it was just too many attitudes and egos running everything. Have you felt coming into the board now, you've only been to, one meeting as we're talking now, but I imagine that you've had a chance to talk to some of the other supervisors, and you've probably known most of them in the county for some time. How do you feel we're going to kind of turn that corner, and how are we going to do with a CAO?
I'm really positive about working with the current board.
Okay, great.
I sort of made us all go to lunch together the first day.
Great.
And bring the CAO with us. Of course, the perception is, oh, it's a Brown Act violation. They talked about trucks. And somebody asked me, what kind of truck do you have? I said, a Maserati. I mean, I totally couldn't relate. I found out that Dennis Mills grew up on a dairy farm. And I thought, oh, I found it an enjoyable comradeship.
Great.
And I think we, the current board, and under Jack's leadership as chair, I think we will find a way to bond as a board. And I hope that the perception that we're doing county business just doesn't float. The public's is capable to join us. They have in the past, when we used to do it in the past.
Well, I was going to say, this goes back to your previous term.
It goes back
when
to
the
Tommy
whole board
Taylor.
Everybody'd go down to the Matador here in San Andreas and
right.
have Mexican food for lunch, and the board will be back in about an hour.
That's right. And people would come join us.
Yep.
So we need to find a way, I mean, to get the board to gel as a group.
Definitely.
And having it done, you can't really do it in the boardroom. You have to stick with the agenda.
Yeah.
So I'm really positive, about the direction I think the board is going to go. Oh dear, what is in this water? Oh, this isn't water.
We carbonated it special for you.
Oh, yeah. I think the board's going to do well together.
That's really good to hear.
And I'm very pleased about that. I've heard that from the 3 current board members, former, now current, and Mr. Stopper, Ben Stopper, I don't know, but he participated in the boardroom on Tuesday, our first meeting. I was asked why I didn't talk. I said, wasn't anything for me to say, not interested in hearing myself talk. I expect that my colleagues to read their agenda and be prepared for a board. And we're going to do the work for the people of Calaveras County.
You bet. And part of that, coming with a new CAO, is this going to take a while, or
Probably.
Do we think it's going to be fairly quick?
That I can't answer. We haven't even discussed it yet.
Okay.
I'm really pleased that we've hired Mr. Lopez to come back. That was a good decision. He doesn't need to acclimate again. He's not into changing. He knows he can't change. And I've spoken with him. He thinks he wants to be there maximum 3 months.
Okay.
He talked about his truck too. So I'm feeling positive, Mike.
That's great. That's really good. And I think, having it come from the top, so to speak, I think it'll help set the tone. Lord knows the rest of the country would rather be at wit's end and argue and scream at each other. But I've learned that the voice that's shouting loudest in the room is not usually the one that's offering the best solutions, much less any solutions. So I've always encouraged people to show up to the board to speak their mind, but not with an attitude.
Right. Well, I agree. And I think it's up to the board to not just look at who's in the boardroom. It's up to the board to be out in the community with their constituents.
You bet.
Finding out how those people who will talk to you in the grocery store, but they don't want to come put themselves in public on TV.
That's right. Yeah.
Or YouTube or whatever.
Yeah. Well, and there is that fear that you're suddenly speaking in front of a group, and people get very nervous for that, even when they're talking about the crosswalk down the street from their house.
Right. Absolutely.
So it is easier to approach, and it's nice to have what I will call our local representation, and they're all very approachable, and you can talk with them at the grocery store or the hardware store or the golf course. So that makes it nice. Where do you see District 3 having some struggles in 2019? What are you kind of going to sort of zero in on and focus on for your district?
Well,
and I know it's not my district against the world, and I appreciate that other supervisors have also expressed that too. We know that my 1/5 is just about 1/5 of the county.
It's 1/5. In fact, we're going to be doing redistricting again in 2020.
Okay.
Every 10 years.
So, time to redraw those lines. Gosh, I forgot how much fun that is.
Yeah. For District 3, the issues are roads, as always, in all the districts. That's a common denominator.
Yeah.
It's snowing now, so snow removal is an issue. I've met with the new Public Works Director who, having come from Nevada County, is used to berm complaints, which is the first Public Works Director that's ever known what a berm was. So I was pretty pleased
Step
about
one
that.
in the good direction.
Yeah. And I'm meeting with the road department next week to find out what's happening. I've had people say, Merita, I'll vote for you if you fix Avery Sheep Ranch. No, I'll vote for you if you fix Murphy Sheep. No, you got to do Moran Road. So, I mean, I understand
Everybody's roadway is the most important.
I totally understand that. Plan development is still an issue in the Arnold area. That does need to be massaged. and the general plan has got to be a priority.
Now, I don't want to completely interrupt you, but mentioning
you did anyway.
But I will anyway.
Anyway,
mentioning the general plan there is that kind of economic and or redevelopment in the Arnold area. Is that something that you tie into the general plan, or does Arnold kind of work on that and then we fold it into it later?
The general plan will just say where we want overlay of commercial or residential and circulation and safety and et cetera. Am I happy with the way the general plan's written? No, there's parts of it I'm really unhappy with. Do I want to go into another 4 years of general plan? Not.
No. Yeah.
So I am willing to pretty much support the general plan as presented. Maybe a tweak or two, if it's just a tweak. And then when we're allowed to change the general plan 4 times a year, then I will try and make modifications as I think we should be making.
Sure.
So that is a county-wide issue versus just District 3.
You bet.
In District 3, the other issues is some of it is sort of like growth in the Murphys area. I've had a lot of the people that are just working in stores in the service industry saying, Merita, we can't find places to live because the prices have gotten too high or there's too many Airbnbs. So I think that's an issue that's going to come up in some form or another. I've got a call recently, an email recently. I'm on the county's. I have to do everything on the county's iPad because of the public record request. So this iPad and I are learning to bond.
Learning
and it's not,
to get along.
And so it's not working yet. But anyway, he wrote about a parking issue when there's a lot of people in town and you can't see to make a left turn, and what are we going to do about it? So that's important to that man.
Sure.
If that's important to him, that's important to me. Is it on the same level as a general plan? Yes, in terms of importance. One I can take care of in a much more expeditious manner, and the other one we need 4 more votes.
Yeah.
So that's an issue. And do you have anything else you want to bring up?
Well, I've got one, and it's sort of the pet issue in this county, and that is cannabis.
Oh, God, that surprises
Does
me.
it? I know. I know, Merita.
Okay.
Does it come back to the table, maybe, with this board?
I have not changed my position since Measure D. I mean, going into why they did the urgency ordinance and how good or bad it is, and measured, that was then.
Yeah, that
Now's
was then.
now.
What's now?
And for me, the issue has to come back in some form.
Okay.
That's how this one supervisor feels. There has to be other votes to bring it back. The other thing is, if we bring it back, when we bring it back, it's not something I wanted to drag on for 2 years, and I don't want something that divides the county like it did. I mean, it split people. It's an emotionally charged issue. It is still an emotional issue. But things have changed. First of all, you have to follow state laws regarding cannabis now. You can't have your own. And state laws are onerous, beyond onerous.
Yeah.
So what is it we have control over within the county would be land use. So
and again, not to beat up the past, but that's where I think the previous board kind of failed. Because in my mind, they could have said, here are the parameters. Here's how we propose to allow it to be legal to grow the stuff. Where do we go from here? And it seemed that nobody would stick to what they had suggested. And then as soon as somebody came in and screamed the sky was falling, the sky just fell, and everybody just decided to scream and holler, and it just got uglier from there.
That's right.
Is it an issue that would come before the board again as a potential economic stimulus kind of thing? I mean, this is maybe a boat that the county is missing, or would it be something where you would see it coming to the board more, as you say, as kind of a land use issue? We know there are farmers who want to raise this crop.
I'm in transition on that. And when we did Measure D, Measure C hadn't passed because they both went at the same time. So money in terms of tax revenue was not the issue.
An issue.
It was more the economy, a crop, bringing in jobs, supporting families.
Yeah.
Whatever, kumbaya. And then Measure C passed and Measure D failed. So you can't tax something that isn't legal. So anyway, we fast forward, all that's passed. I'm into where we are today. I'm still supportive for the same reasons I've always supported it. But it did have a significant economic impact on the county, as in just capital C, no government, and the county, capital C with government. It brought in, I don't know, it depends on who you talk to, $15 to $17 million just in taxes. Forget the fee portion.
Yeah.
That has a significant impact on the county's general fund.
Definitely.
Do we want to be more technology advanced? Do we want an iPad the supervisor can use? Do we want more probation officers? Do we want another deputy? Do we want extra hours at the library? To get employees doing something besides just day-to-day, moving towards a future. That $17 or $15 million would come in handy.
Yes.
Now, how it's taxed now is differently than the canopy tax. I mean, I don't want to get into the weeds on the issue.
Yeah, no pun
the
intended.
The basic is, do I support something? My position hasn't changed. What has become part of the equation is the revenue generated from that industry. And I can't just poo it because it wasn't part of where I was on Measure D.
Yeah, I saw a documentary about 2 weeks ago that said that basically the cannabis crop in this country has already surpassed corn and wheat combined. I mean, the numbers are pretty incredible. And that's where I was looking at it as yes, that $15 million a year would be nice to have in the general fund as a cushion.
So it's not a spending issue, it's a revenue issue.
Okay. What else do you see in District 3? What's going really well in District 3? Let's, spin toward the positive a little bit with government. What a concept.
Oh, it is positive. I've had a lot of positive feedback about being back on the board. I'm hearing from a lot of people. People who truly care about their community. Calaveras we don't have a center focal, like we don't have a Jackson, which is a center. We don't have a Sonora, which is a center. And each community is very loyal to its own specific area. And they have a wealth of volunteers for Murphy's or for Arnold. And I mean, I got an email today from somebody up in Gans Meadow regarding a problem with Caltrans, which, we're working on. That's important to them. But they all live here, and they have no intention of wanting to move. I mean, I just talked to a business owner who recently, as of this year, sold his business and was really happy about it. He's staying on as an employee for a while.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, I think things are happening, but it's easier to be negative than positive.
Yeah.
And I'm going back to having office hours in the Arnold Library and working with the different groups.
Do you know when they're doing that? When you are doing that, your
going
office
back,
hours in
I'll
Arnold?
do them on Fridays.
Oh, okay.
And the reason I picked Fridays because of the second homeowners.
Oh, sure.
come
so
in.
as they get
And
up
it's
here
not as if they don't get me at a concert or wherever.
Yeah.
Oh, Murphy's Christmas Day dinner.
There you go.
Thank you for covering us.
Oh, you bet.
I appreciate it. I so
That is one of the
appreciate it.
county's most wonderful events.
Yeah,
It's
I
one of
think
my
so.
favorites.
Yeah, thank you. So I think people are more positive. And they realize the challenges, but they're not beating everything up because they realize that's destructive.
And everybody's not really exasperated either. I don't get a sense that people are like, okay, I give up. I don't want to shout anymore. I think they really are kind of calming down and realizing that, hey, we need to just talk about this.
We want to be engaged.
Sit across the table and
That's right. Let's
talk
be
about
engaged.
what we can make
We have a
happen.
group trying to put a dog park together. And I've
yeah.
been working with them, and they're coming up with a business plan.
Oh, really?
And
Wow.
they're going to make a presentation. So, I mean, not to the board, it's
Yeah.
all private. So, I mean, I find that exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, Black Bart Theater's going, the concerts are going, Jazz Jam on Thursdays in Murphy's, and the bistro has Taco Tuesday. And I mean, things are happening
Yeah.
if you just want to sit back and say, oh, yeah. You
Well,
know,
my
I can
least
do it.
favorite thing to hear someone say is there's nothing to do up here. Because that's when I'm looking at my calendar going, have you seen Saturday? You know,
know.
there can be so much to get out and do.
There is.
So,
There's a lot.
and right now we're coming up on the second weekend of January and the first event of the year, and we're off and running. Every
I
weekend
know.
is full through that. So
You're
it's
right.
really something.
And you see it in the Sierra
Sierra Lodestar.
Lodestar, which is thank you for making it free. But yeah,
You bet.
I know it's the ads that keep it going.
Yeah.
So that means there must be businesses doing well,
Well,
that they can afford
somebody
the ads.
has to support it. Yeah, that's
Somebody
the
has
thing.
to support it.
Now, we're down to about our last minute and a half. So I just want to ask you, where do you see Calaveras County in a year and at the end of your 4-year term? What do you see kind of happening?
I don't like to project that
Okay.
far out. I have things that maybe I would like us to do. Simple, the general plan or zoning codes. But I don't want to necessarily
Okay.
project that this is
Yeah.
what I want. Would I like to wave the magic wand? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd like to.
Everybody
Would I
would.
like to have all the roads plowed? You know, would I like
Yeah,
no
we all would.
berms? You know, would I like all the potholes
And
fixed? Yeah.
That's it.
But-
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Merita Callaway, congratulations on
Thank you,
winning
Michael.
re-election.
Thank
And
you.
enjoy your time on the board this
I
time.
will.
Enjoy those office hours on Fridays at the Arnold Library with Merita Callaway. Merita, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Mike.
And until next time on Mondo Calaveras, I'm Mike Taylor. Enjoy.